I feel like a kid on Christmas, I really do. It's the 16th of December, temperature's about -7. I don't know if you can see it, but there's snow falling all around me. This is what I've been wishing for. A nice, cool, snowy day to get out into the woods, enjoy a fire, enjoy a lunch, enjoy a coffee. I have a new hobo stove I just built. I haven't released a video on building it, but I'm going to, and I'm going to test it out today. So if you're interested in seeing that, seeing what I had for lunch, come along for the journey. Perfect. All right, coffee time. Okay. Nice snowy frozen fire pit. Great place to test out my brand new, or for not brand new, I guess it is. It's all secondhand materials, but IKEA Hobo Stove Cook Kit. So, inside my stuff sack. Really don't need this to protect the forest floor any from, because it's all frozen inside this fire pit anyway. But I am going to use it just to prevent too much heat loss or drying of cold up through the bottom of the stove. Put my stuff sack aside. So here's the kit. I have a pot that sits nicely inside. There's my stove, which will go on top of that little platform. Inside my kit I have some scrubby, a bandana, and inside the bandana, my crossbars for the stove. I won't be putting those on right away, but they'll go on in a few minutes. So they're all ready to go. My pot, and a bale, a very formable bale, which just makes it nice. I can get it hooked in there, squeeze it in a little bit. Great. Okay, put that aside for a second. After I get the bale shaped properly. There we go. That's better. Great. Put my pot aside. Now there's a couple ways you can start a little hobo stove like this. You can either load it and burn it from the top, or you can light it from the bottom. I'm going to use the bottom lighting today. No specific reason, just that it works well. I've got all kinds of little sticks. I like to start with birch bark. Load that down inside. Very small, very fine. Put out some of the bigger ones here. Spruce twigs go next. Hopefully dry enough for this. Should be. Everything's sliding around in the ice. Once I get it lit, I've got all kinds of little branches here. I'll hold that birch bark aside. Now, to get this lit, well, some of the birch bark has to be exposed. Yeah, that'll do it. Dig out my ferro rod. I saved a little bit of birch bark. Guess I'm going to have to take my gloves off for this. In my pocket to keep it dry. Lay it on top of that one. And I have a brand new ferro rod that I wanted to try out today. It's one of the bigger ones. Not that the smaller one wasn't working. Just wanted to carry a bigger one for a while. So this is brand new. I'd have to take off the paint on the outside. Yeah, that's better. See if I can't get this birch bark lit up right away. Just like that. Oh, wait, hold on. Keep going. Keep going. On light. Oh yeah. Come on, birch bark. You can do it. Do it or not. There we go. I think I'll put those on now. Won't take long for this little bit of twigs to get going. Any luck? Things are cold, things are damp. But I think we got it lit. I don't think it's going to stay on that tin foil too well though. That's wet. It's going to take us a few seconds. It doesn't really build up a lot of coals. I'm using all softwood right now. I'll have to go see if I can't break a few hardwood pieces off, but this will generate a lot of heat quite quickly. I have to run down to the lake. I noticed that it's got a skim of ice on it, but I'll get on and get some water. And then we'll be back. I'm about to find out if my boots are waterproof. Tricky here. There we go. There's some water. All right, let's go up and get this on the fire. All right, let's get some water on. Okay. All that's left now is to wait for that to come to a boil. Make a cup of coffee. All right, water's boiling. Got my old Y stick here that I've used before. Put my Kapilka cup down. Yeah. Oh yeah, boiling hard. Good. Now, I'm not sure if this is sized to fit this one, but should work. Just about perfect. Great. Yeah. Put that back on, keep it warm. Put that aside. So I've been starting to make tea again in the woods in addition to coffee. I'll have coffee after I have my lunch. And I like having milk in my tea. So what I had been doing originally was putting the skim milk powder right in on top of the hot water. And I found that wasn't working because it was clumping up, it wasn't dissolving. It looked like it had gone bad. It wasn't. It just wasn't dissolving. So then I got smart, put a little bit of cold water in the bottom of my cup, put my skim milk powder in, dissolved it, then put my hot water in and my tea bag in. Well, that was better, except for the fact that the cold water in the cup was chilling the tea off a bit too quickly. So now I think I have a system that works. Small plastic container that I can put a little bit of powder in, a little bit of water in, shake it up and dissolve it while my tea is steeping. And then when I think it's getting windy, I think it's ready. It should be in a minute or so. Then I'll just add the milk directly to it, so it won't cool it down too quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enjoy a nice cup of tea, relax for a few minutes, then I'm going to build a fire up and have some lunch. Alright, I'll bring you back. Alright, tea time is over. Snow continues to fall. Time to get a proper fire on so I can make some lunch. Got a few branches in the base there to hold it off the ground. A brace in the back to hold my bundle of dried twigs off the ground. A little bit of birch bark in my pocket. And a whack of it here to add if necessary. A little bit of a platform to keep it off the ground. Ferrocerium rod. Knife. See if we can't get this lit quickly enough now. There we go. This is really dead birch bark that I'm using, so I got a suspicion it's going to take a while for this to light up a little bit better. Catch it on the edge. Like that. Better. Gotta love birch bark. Alright. Just getting some of the small stuff on. Dry, snappy spruce. Burns hot, fast. No, it can't be too good if it's not snapping. You know, it's exactly the same technique for getting a fire going during the winter that you would use during the summer. There's no magic to it. What it takes is patience. Patience and preparation. I tend to gather more than I need of anything like birch bark, fine kindling, fine twigs, fuel. I tend to gather more than I will probably need because my experience has been you have to get a certain dynamic going before the fire is self-sustaining. It has to heat up enough that it'll keep itself going. And in cold weather, it wants to draw from the ground, the air around it. The wood is cold, may have been wet, frozen, definitely the case today. So oxygen, dry wood, what I can get, lots of small stuff, lots of medium stuff. Get it to a roaring state as quickly as I can, being patient, understanding that it will take some time to do so. Then, I can start to relax a little bit and know that my fire is going to be self-sustaining. It's starting to look pretty good. It's a little bit bigger. Still snowing. Beautiful. Oh. That's maybe wet. I have a pile of firewood that I cut before, last time I was here. I had covered it over with a tarp, but the tarp blew off. So it's got a coating of snow on it, but if I get enough of a base here, it'll light it up anyway. Alright, I'm going to work on this for a little while. We'll put some water on and we'll come back and have some lunch. Okay, my water is on for lunch. I have a kasha quinoa black bean soup mix, hopefully rehydrating nicely over the fire here. And I thought I'd just take a minute to prepare my dessert. Now I call it my dessert, but it's not really dessert, it's just, well, it's Bannock, it's what it is. And so last time I was here, I tried making a Bannock, well I didn't try, I made it. I made Bannock inside one of those light my fire grandpa grills. And I didn't make a really good Bannock mix that day, but it cooked up nicely and it tasted great. And I cooked it over the fire here, over the coals. But I thought what I'd do is I'd come back and I'd go back to my childhood days of making Bannock when I was camping and what I taught my kids to do. And I would start a short series on baking in the woods. Now short series, it could be as long as people have interest in it. And I'm going to start very simple, start with something I know from my childhood, and add to it from there. And I'm going to open this up to anyone who has an interest in what I'm doing. If you want to offer recipes, suggestions, ideas, you know what? For the most of the time, when I go out, I take soup-based lunches, things that I can just add to boiling water and cook up. Occasionally I'll take some eggs and some bacon, but most of the time I'm taking dehydrated lunches that I can rehydrate in a pot, and you know, just simple, easy to pack, lightweight, not a lot of fuss or muss, easy to eat, tastes good. But I think it's time that I started expanding my menu a little bit. So I'm going to start doing that with Bannock here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up and I'm going to mix some Bannock a little better, hopefully, than I did last time, and a little bit more of what I'm used to doing, and put it on a stick. And I've got a stick here. Now, I've chosen a piece of dry, I believe this to be maple. It's probably 3/4 of an inch. I would have preferred it to be about an inch in diameter. I peeled it back about 8 inches on the edge here, and I'll show you up close when I go to, and just rounded off the edges a little bit, because I'm going to be wrapping the Bannock around this more in a traditional way. This is probably the most basic way, other than throwing it directly on the ashes or putting it on a stone. This is probably one of the most basic ways of cooking Bannock that you can get to. So I'll set up and show you how I'm going to make my Bannock. We'll wrap it around the stick, and I think my fire is dying down to a point where I can start using the coals to cook it as it continues to snow. This is what I asked for. It makes it a little bit more challenging here recording what I'm doing. I think I'll probably end up having to erect a shelter here at some point so I can do this while it's snowing, because my camera right now is getting covered in snow. I got to clean that off. Okay, stay with me. We'll get some Bannock ready for dessert, and I'll show you what I mean by dessert when we get to that point. All right, let's make some Bannock. So I have my Bannock mix, much more of it this time, in a bag, my bowl with snow in it, a little bit of water. I'm not going to make a big batch of Bannock because, well, I don't need to. It's just a quick lunch, so to speak. Put some in. I'm going to put in, I don't know, half a cup, maybe a little bit more. And if you didn't get my Bannock recipe last time I made it, I'll post it again. I think I'll need a little bit more than that. Bannock mix aside. Some little clumps of the milk powder in it. Alright, so there's my whole wheat Bannock mix, and it has buttermilk powder in it, which adds a little bit of fat to it, as well as a little bit of cohesion in the mix, as you'll see what I mean. And the mistake that I often make, I think a lot of people do, is they add too much water to start. That's why I've got additional if I need to thicken it up. So very little water. Just gonna, that much. Probably a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Can always add more, it's just hard to take it away. I want it so that when it's fully mixed, and take your time doing this, it doesn't stick to the side of the bowl. Now you can see it's quite crumbly at this point. I could probably put in just a touch more water, but this is where it gets tricky. I don't want to add much more water to this. I want to be able to pick it up in my hands and form it. And if it's too wet, it'll make a mess. If it's too dry, it won't stick together. Just a touch more water. Let's see what happens. Alright, about a teaspoon of water that time. I say about because we're in the woods. No measuring spoons. And that may have been too much. That's how quickly that can happen. But it's also the reason why I have more Bannock powder. Oh yeah, this is looking better. Still a little wet. If you can't pick it up without sticking to your fingers, you've probably made it too wet for this type of cooking. Now, in a fry pan, maybe it'll be fine, but you want to wrap it around a stick. You have to be able to pick it up without it sticking to your fingers. Wow, it's hard to believe how much that a little bit of water made a difference. More to practice, I guess. I think we got it this time. Yeah, there we go, that's better. Alright, hopefully you can see that. It's doughy, slightly sticky. May end up adding a little bit more. But when I'm finished, I'm going to roll it out in a long string on this little cutting board that I have, a little flexible dollar store cutting board, and then wrap it around the end of the stick. Okay, I'll show you rolling it out, then I'll show you it on the end of the stick. Okay, here's my ball of Bannock dough. Still a little bit sticky here. Trying to create is a kind of a long, snaky kind of a thing that I'm going to wrap around the end of the stick. It's a little bit sticky. I can still add a little bit of powder to the over the top of it. There we go. Much better. Okay, I'll wrap that around the end of the stick and I'll get it over the fire and I'll show you that. Okay, here is where we are now. I have the Bannock all wrapped around the end of the stick, and I mentioned a dry hardwood. It doesn't have to be hardwood, but it should be dry for a couple of reasons. That the fire is going to heat up the stick, and you want to be able to heat up the stick, and actually that helps cooking from the inside. I don't know how much, but it does help. But if it's a green stick, it's going to start generating steam from the wood. And if there's any bacteria on the wood, then that's also going to be entering into your food. So pick a dry stick. Now you'll notice I wrapped it right around the end. I could have just wrapped it around the stick and had the end of the stick exposed. But there's a reason for doing that, which I'll show you once it is cooked. All right, let's get that heating over the coals. All right, I've got my Bannock over the coals. You can always arrange it. It's one of those things that it's a bit of a trial and error. You know, where's the best place to put it? what's the best distance away from the coals. I think I was better off the way I was the first time. Yeah, that's probably better. And I'll just watch it. Don't want to cook it too quickly, but it does have to be cooked through. And I'll show you how to know if it's cooked through when we get to it. But I think now my lunch is probably well rehydrated. I'll be able to eat that. So I'll get my lunch ready, and I'll bring it back when the bannock is just about ready to eat. Oh, that thickened up nicely. Wow. Gotta learn to get the portions right. Let me show you what I'm eating. Kasha, quinoa, there may be rice in there. Black bean soup is the soup base. I thought I had the portions right, but this is obviously half again as much as I'm probably going to be able to eat. But I'm going to enjoy it just the same. All right. Good sized bowl. It's good. I think I need to add a little spice to it. Okay, let me show you the progress on my bannock. So I moved some of the coals over to that side, moved some of the live sticks over to the other side, and then leaned my tripod so that my pot would sit down in the fire, and the coals would be what is on top of my bannock. Got a little warm on that side, but it's just about ready. You can see how much it grew over top of the stick. I think I can probably get that down a little lower even somehow. I don't want to burn it, but I want to make sure it's cooked. So I'll keep a close eye on that because that's a little close to the coals. And when it's finished, I have a special ingredient that's going to go inside of it. Bring it back when it's time to enjoy that. All right, I think we're done. Let's try this, check this bannock out. Okay, despite the fact that it got a little brown on a couple of sides, I'm trying it on the sides that aren't browned. And what I'm doing is I'm tapping it, looking for that hollow sound. And that sounds pretty good. Maybe a little soft there, but nah. Oh, that's ready. Okay, it's probably quite hot. So I'm going to take my bandana, wrap it around the outside, give it a little twist, like that. And it should slide down off of the end just nicely. So what I have is bannock with a hole in it. Now the ingredient, the secret ingredient, or no secret to it, is jam. So I brought a little container of jam out with me. And it's blueberry jam made from Nova Scotia blueberries, made at home. A little spoon, and I'll spoon a little bit down inside and enjoy my dessert. A little awkward here. Ooh, that is hot though. Just put some jam down inside. Put pie filling, put just about anything you want down inside. If I wanted to treat it as a bread, as opposed to a dessert, melt a little butter down inside. Like I said, this is probably the most basic. Oh, I think somebody's doing some hunting in the area. Roadside of hunting season, so I don't know what they're shooting unless it's rabbits. And that is my dessert. Warm. That's a treat. You really need to try that. Bannock cooked on the end of a stick, so it's hollow on the inside, and you can take it off when it's dry or nice and cooked. Put some jam or something else down inside of it. Perfect. My water's hot. It's time for coffee. Bring it back in a bit. So I thought while my water was heating for my coffee, I'd just take a little 20-foot stroll down to the edge of the lake, show you my view. This never gets old for me. It really doesn't. Sun peeking through the clouds. A few minutes ago there was just a whiteout of snow here, and I missed coming down to show you that. Little sun off the open water. That water is just a skim. Just enough to hold the snow on top. Won't take long before it freezes and I can get out on it with my snowshoes and get across to the islands that are all through the lake here. But right now I'm just going to enjoy the scenic snow and the sun coming through the clouds and a cup of coffee. Starbucks Christmas blend coffee. Not my own roast today, but fresh ground. I ground it this morning. Alright, is this ready? Oh yeah, that's good. Can I hold you? Yep, I can. Get you off. Yeah, I can do that too. Stabilize it. Just short of full for a second. So I can mix it up. That looks good. A little more water to top it off. There. Filter on. Let that sit for a minute or two. And coffee will be ready. Alright. Get the snow out. Upside down and push. It's hot. There we go. Oh man. Yeah, set that aside. That is a cup of coffee. I'm going to sit back in my hammock chair and enjoy that coffee. Because it is starting to get mid-afternoon, late afternoon, and it won't be long before I have to head out. Alright. Yes. I recently discovered that there's a Facebook page dedicated to coffee lovers. I think it's Coffee Lovers in the Woods. I have to investigate a little bit further. I was referred to the page by one of the members of the Nova Scotia Bushcraft Facebook page. If I learn anything of interest and new that you haven't seen me do already, I'll definitely be sharing it with you. So shotguns continue to sound off around me somewhere nearby. I'm in a little valley in a cove down by the lake, so it's echoing. I can't quite determine where it's coming from. But I don't think it's somebody hunting at all. I think it's somebody's doing some target practice. That or there's a lot of game that I haven't seen that they're shooting. So I didn't get everything I wanted to do when I came out today. I had a little list for myself of things I wanted to do and try. I think not that the snow was a hamper, it was just makes it more of a challenge for some of the things I wanted to do. In fact, being out in the snow kind of made up for the things I didn't get done. Alright, enjoying this coffee. It'll warm me up a little bit, then I gotta get packed up and start heading out of the woods. So if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. But in the meantime, get out and explore. Take that path less traveled. It'll make all the difference. Bye for now.